Welcome back to Coachology in 20, where we learn coaching concepts in just 20 minutes. I say that the past 3 have been close to 30, so I'm going to promise I'm going to work towards keeping it down today. If you're tuned in, please say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. If you're a new coach, get your notebook ready, your tablet ready, your questions ready. Let's use this space for you to learn something new about coaching today. If you're an experienced coach or a seasoned coach, then get ready to share your input. Share the questions that I've got on the screen, on the slides, the topic we're talking about today. Share your input and let's use the wisdom that you have and the wisdom in the room together for a meaningful and impactful session in the next 20 minutes. I can see we've got Adele tuned in. Adele, thank you so much for being here. It's wonderful to see you here. Thank you. I can see we've got more people tuned in, so if you want to say hi, please feel free to say hi. If you want to stay behind the scenes and learn today, that is also fine. I'm not going to push you to engage or interact in our session today or any of the sessions in the future for that matter. But what are we going to be looking at today? So we're going to be going off-piste a little bit with the professionalism that we've been talking about in our first 10 episodes of Coachology in 20. And we're going to be looking at how we can actually bring fun into coaching. Now, when I've posted this before, I've had a conversation around this before. People think, how do I bring fun into coaching? Coaching needs to be serious. A lot of people bring in serious problems, serious issues, or they've got challenges and goals that are quite difficult for them to achieve. I don't care if you're coaching executives, if you're working with an organizational coaches, you can make your coaching session a little bit more fun. And in this next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you how. We've got Kim tuned in. Kim, it's brilliant to see you here. Thank you so much for being here. Kim says hi. If you do have any questions or thoughts or any input that you want to share, please pop them in the comments box. Now, I mentioned that about people kind of give me a bit of a slack or a little bit of pushback when I talk about fun in coaching. And I've got a question for you, and it's, when was the last time you had fun? We live in a world where we have a lot of corporate pressure. We have so many things that we need to get done. We want to be efficient. We want to be productive. We've got Netflix. We've got Disney, things that distract us. We've got social media constantly distracting us. When was the last time you actually took out some time for yourself to have fun? And I'm not talking about watching the latest series. I'm not talking about skipping through some videos on TikTok and having a laugh. When was the last time you actually took time out for yourself to have fun? Unfortunately, we live in a very serious world right now, and it's very rare for people to find time to have fun. They've always got work to do, tasks to do, family errands to do, housekeeping. There's so much in terms of life admin and work that we forget to take time for ourselves. And there's a lot of pressure on us right now. If we do take time for ourselves, we need to be doing the next habit that's going to be better for our well-being. We need to meditate. We need to read. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to exercise. We need to keep ourselves healthy. There's a lot of pressure on us in the world right now. So my question is, when was the last time you actually took some time out and had fun? And what did you do? If you feel free to be comfortable enough to share that in the comments box, put it in the comments box so we can share some stories on how you've had fun. But that's just a question for you to reflect upon. And while you reflect upon that, let's take it a little bit further. When was the last time you had fun at work? The corporate world is becoming a lot more serious. We've got pressures, deadlines. A lot of people are on the edge of burnout if they haven't got burnout already. When was the last time you had fun at work? I can see we've got Adele tuned in. Adele, I think it's not been too long since we've had a bit of fun. We tend to have a little bit of fun when we meet. We make our meetings a bit fun. We have a laugh. We have a talk. We really try and bring fun into what we do here at Coaching Minds. So I'm hoping, Adele, I hope your answer is we've had fun quite recently. I know we've both been off on leave. So Adele saying incorporating fun in all we do is so important. I have neglected this a lot. We do. A lot of us neglect it. I'm guilty of that myself. And, you know, I was off on leave for 3 months this year due to health issues. And one thing I realized that led up to that is I never took time out for myself just to enjoy what it is I'm doing. I enjoy my work, I'm passionate about my work, but when you work too hard, and it just becomes too much. But in terms of fun, I wasn't taking that time out. And one thing I learned was we can do the best mindset habit. We can go out for a jog. This all helps. I'm not saying don't do this. But one thing that we forget that's really good for our well-being as well is actually to enjoy taking time out for ourselves to have fun. So, for example, if we like to go to the gym, we like to jog, that could be fun for some of us because we really enjoy it. but many of us are probably just doing that because we feel forced to do it. So when we're looking at how we get healthy, how we get fit, how we start to find things that we actually enjoy and not things that people are telling us that we're supposed to be doing. So that's just a few reflective questions to get you thinking about today, thinking about the fast-paced, serious world that we live in. And it also applies to coaching. We can bring fun into our coaching. Our coaching sessions don't always need to be serious or therapeutic. And actually, if our coaching session feels like it's being therapeutic, then we might be stepping into the lines of therapy and outside of our competencies as a coach. It could be a sign that it isn't coaching that we're offering with our clients. So to give you an example, you might have a client that's coming in and you just sat there, listening to the same story week in, week out. You're asking the same questions and they're using you as a space, as a sounding board, just to vent all the problems that's happened in the past week or month. That is not coaching. That's just holding a space. There's coaching elements and skills in there. That becomes a bit therapeutic. And if we're not moving the client forward, if we're not helping them get progress, then it isn't good for the report and it isn't good for our clients. It's not actually coaching. So how do we make our coaching sessions fun? Let's explore this today. But the important point that we need to keep in mind, and I mentioned this at the beginning, I don't care if you're coaching executives or you're in organizational coaching or you're doing life coaching or you're doing mindset, you can make your sessions more fun. Fun means different things for different people. And as long as we keep that balance between professionalism and fun, we're going to continue to build rapport. We're going to make it more engaging. And by introducing certain aspects of fun into our coaching sessions, we might actually help our clients achieve their goals a lot quicker. We need to be able to build up that energy, that positive energy in our coaching sessions that motivates our clients. We're not there to give them motivation advice, to tell them what to do, but the energy that we bring and the way in which we engage with them and interact with them and ask our questions and bring in our exercises and our tools, if we do it in a really energetic way and fun way, we can help them get to where they want to be a little bit quicker. But the important thing to remember when we're talking about everything today is finding that balance between professional and fun. It's not about taking our clients to the pub for a pint while we have a coaching session because it's a better atmosphere. I'm not talking about this. It's not about going for a round of golf and coaching your client through a round of golf, although that might be actually a good idea, one to think about and reflect on there in terms of the ethical implications of going for a round of golf with a client. Bit of conflict of interest there as well if it becomes a bit of a golfing buddy. But I'm not talking about this sort of thing. I'm talking about how we can make our sessions more interactive, more energetic, and more positive so our clients can get to where they need to be quicker. So Adele's saying, yes, we absolutely do incorporate always. We always have fun when we meet and talk. We stay professional and know where the line is, does not get blurred. 100%. That's what we're talking about here today, Adele, is that balance. You can see we've got Hannah J tuned in. Hannah saying a bit of fun helps the peer relationship perspective too, reminds them we are equals in the conversation. 100%. Thank you so much for sharing that, Hannah. That's a really great point. And I've actually got that towards the end of the slides that I've got today, which is the ethical implications, the purpose of bringing the fun. So I'm going to mention this early now since you brought in that wonderful comment. The purpose of bringing the fun is to strengthen the relationship, to build the rapport with our clients. And there is a risk that we can break it. So we have to be very careful on how we inject and bring fun into our coaching practice. So thank you for that brilliant comment, Hannah. So why bring fun to our practice? So Hannah's just said there, it reminds them we're equals in the conversation. It helps the peer relationship. If you're new to coaching, we have to remember that the relationship in coaching is symbiotic. What I mean by this is we see our clients as being equal. We don't see them as somebody that needs to be fixed. Sometimes a client can step into the space and feel like we're an authoritative figure. That might be due to the marketing, the way we present ourselves. We have to break down those barriers to see that we're on the same level, as Hannah put it there, that we're equals in the conversation. Very, very important. But why else might we bring fun to our practice? I've mentioned a few things already. What do you think? Put it in the comments box. So I mentioned it can help us and help our clients get to where they want to be quicker. Now we want our clients to look forward to coming to our sessions, to feel like it's going to be an energetic space where they can work on themselves, where they can work on their goals, where they can work on what they want to achieve. We don't want our clients feeling like they're going into a therapeutic session, that they're going to use the space just to talk about all the problems that's going on for them right now. So if we make our sessions more fun and energetic, it's going to change the energy on how our clients show up to our sessions. Granted, things might happen in their lives that might affect how they show up. But generally, if we set that consistency of that high energy in those fun sessions, it can work. So I'm gonna leave you to think about that. But there's a few reasons. It, as Hannah mentioned, it shows that we're equals in the relationship. It has that peer-to-peer connection, that we are not above our client. We are equals in what we're talking about. It helps the client move faster towards their goals, or it can do. It also shows that we are giving positive energy and gives momentum, and they look forward to showing up with us. And also, it helps build the rapport. The more interactive we can make our coaching sessions, the quicker we can build rapport. So there's a few things, just a question for you to reflect upon. So now, if you're an experienced coach, it's a question to you. What elements of fun do you bring to your practice right now? Let me know in the comments box. I appreciate there's a delay on the comments. But what elements of fun do you bring to your coaching practice? I'm going to explain some of the things that I do as I go through. I've got 5 ways in which you can start to introduce fun into your coaching sessions. And we'll talk about what I do as we go through these 5. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Roseanne says tools help with that. Tools really do. And it's not about the type of tool necessarily that we bring into the session. And again, I'm going to cover an ethical point on how we do this towards the end of the session. But it's how we actually use the tools with our clients. Are we just sending them a PDF and ask them to do the exercise before they come to our coaching session, or offer them to do the exercise before the session, and then we just sit there and talk about it? Or do we actually understand when to introduce a tool, when the context is right, when can we offer that tool to the client, and find an interactive way of working through that exercise or tool together in our coaching space? Hannah's saying, I like when me and the client have similar humor. It also helps anchor key ideas if they can remember a positive feeling about it. Thank you so much for that, Hannah. That's another really great point. We talked about humor a couple of sessions ago and how that is the deepest level of rapport that we can get with our clients, but also one that we have to be very careful of, because humor shows that really deep connection. It's really brilliant to anchor those key ideas. But one misaligned joke, one thing that we do in terms of humor can break what was taking us to build in months within seconds. So thank you for that. Another really great point there. How else do you inject fun into your coaching practice? It doesn't have to be anything wacky or wild. Roseanne mentioned tools. Tools can really help with that fun and that engagement. I'm going to come back to the comments and let's see what you put across. But I'm going to talk you through 5 ways in which you can start to inject a little bit more fun into your coaching sessions. As I mentioned, I'm going to give you some ideas and some tips here. Take what is useful for you, leave what you think is not relevant to you, and think about how you can be creative and what this might spark and resonate with you to make your sessions more fun. Remember, the purpose is to build that relationship. We want to bring that positive energy. We want to interact with the clients. We don't just want to sit there and have a conversation trying to move them forwards. We want to actually help them make progress. So some of these might be straightforward, but the first one is get outdoors. There's a big talk, there's a lot of work in the profession right now around green coaching. The big part of green coaching is not just about making our clients conscious of the impact on the environment and what they do, but actually getting outdoors and coaching. I've talked to a couple of our coaches that go on hikes, they go walks with their clients, they walk and talk. One of the things that I loved when I was working in an organization I used to coach, the office that we were based in, behind was a beautiful park, a beautiful lake. So we used to go for walks and have our coaching conversations. So getting outdoors, changing the scenery in itself is something so simple, but really changes the energy and it makes it a bit more fun. Although we have to have the weather permitted, so it has to be a good day. In the UK, it's summertime. It's absolutely perfect for those based in the UK to get out with your clients. Now, I get a pushback from this. A lot of when I talk about this and tell our coaches or advise our coaches to get outside, to start to connect, they say, but I do a lot of my coaching online. I'm on Zoom, I'm connecting. Now, you can get away from this. What you can do is look at a different way in which you can host your session, providing the client is comfortable with it, and you're offering this and you're offering it as a proposal, and they feel comfortable and they're going to get benefit with it. What I also used to do, because I used to coach online as well as in this office, I used to still walk around that park and that lake, but instead we used to have a WhatsApp call, a WhatsApp audio call. They would go out. I would encourage them to go out walking where they were if it was a nice day. I used to go out walking where I was with a nice day with my headphones plugged in so the conversation was kept confidential, and I would be asking them questions and coaching them whilst I was walking on my own. It gets us away from our laptops. We have our heads buried in our laptops for far too long, day in, day out. So if we have the luxury, get outdoors. We don't have to be with the client. We can arrange a different way in which we set up the client call so they're still getting benefit. But we need to ask them, again, this comes back to a feedback, ask them if they got benefit afterwards, or if they would prefer you to work on a computer face-to-face. Some people might need to see you. It might not work for our clients. But again, a good coach will adapt their practice and see how this would work for the clients. Rosanna's saying, what about distractions? What do you mean in terms of distractions when you're out in a walk, in nature? Can you just elaborate on that question in terms of the distractions? I'm just going to go on because I promised I would finish in 20 minutes. Now, a good way to start to boost a bit of fun and interactiveness into our coaching sessions is to celebrate our clients' wins and celebrations. Just take a moment when we're starting our coaching session, we tend to jump straight in. What have you achieved? What have you done since our last session? What do you want to talk about? And we jump straight into the conversation. Let's take a moment and ask, what was our client achieved? What's been the key win between now and before we previously met? And let's take a moment to celebrate that. How are you celebrating this win? What have you done to celebrate this right now? Building this and starting with the positivity at the start of the session can really build the energy for the rest of the session. So please don't forget this. Again, this is something simple, but we can use wins and celebrations. It doesn't necessarily have to be the start. As soon as we hear the client spot this, take a moment to stop and congratulate them. Celebrate that space with them. Ask them, what are they going to do? What reward are they going to give themselves for achieving this milestone? This energy keeps that momentum going forward. So wins and celebrations. So I can see Rosanna saying yes. So I tend not, because I'm out in nature, it was quite a quiet park, there wasn't distraction. So you need to be careful and manage where you're walking. You don't be walking in a busy city, having a coaching conversation. That's not going to work. It needs to be a quiet nature reserve or somewhere out where you're not going to have those distractions and those noises. You know, for example, I'm in Colombia right now, Bogota. I couldn't go for a walk. I can't do this type of coaching conversations right now because the traffic, the beeping, it's just too heavy. So it's about selecting location. It's about getting outdoors, getting into nature and having those coaching conversations in a different way. It's a lot more fun, brings a lot more different energy to your sessions. And this is something, as I mentioned, this is something you can do with executives. I've done this with managers, leaders. They enjoy it because it gets them away from their office. It gets them in a different space when you're asking the questions, when you're working on what it is they're trying to achieve. Now, it doesn't always work because some managers, seniors, they like to see statistics, they like to see dashboards, they like to see visual things on the screen when you're working through the progress. But it's about picking and choosing when the right moment and the right session. I'm not saying do this for every session. It's just one or two with the contract that you have with your coaches. Try it out, see how it works. From wins and celebrations, it's all about interactive features. So how, if you're working with clients online on Zoom, how to use the interactive features such as the whiteboard. If you've got Canva have a lot of interactive features you can use. How do you design your tools? So going back to what Roseanne mentioned, one thing we're looking at here at Coaching Minds in doing is how do we transform, because we've got editable PDFs. So we've got a coaching library that has about 250 tools between our level 5 and our level 7. There's a lot of tools, but these are PDFs that can be edited and typed into. We're thinking about, with the use of AI, with AI growing, how do we start to make these tools more interactive in the space with our coaches rather than just typing in. You know, when you're in person, so we do a lot of coaching in person, you can use a lot of prompts here. So I used to love using value cards. So instead of giving a sheet of values, I had value cards. We used to arrange things, emotion cards, how are you feeling today based on these pictures, which one of these pictures expresses your emotions. There's lots of prompts and things we can build in to make our sessions interactive. And it doesn't necessarily have to be also during the session. One thing I do with my clients is I like to give my clients a Trello board. So I set up a Trello board for each of my clients and they have their tasks, their commitment. We set it up how they want. We make it a bit interactive and they can drag and drop their commitments as it's in progress, completed. But that Trello board and a little bit of interaction between sessions is a little bit more fun, a little bit more engaging, a little bit more interactive than me just sending an email of here's your actions that you've committed to. Let's see what we do last week. So let's see what you can do over the next week. So how do we think about how we be more interactive? Technology is so advanced right now. It's absolutely wonderful. The things we can create and do through AI. One tip, so many of us want to ask AI to do the work for us, but let's flip that. Let's ask AI how we can do certain things and how we can create things to make our sessions online more interactive. So it's not just speaking one-to-one over a Zoom session. So interaction is very, very important. The other thing is, how do we create a space for art and creativity? How do we understand how our clients like to learn? We talk about at Coaching Minds VAC, so whether we're visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, our clients, what's their preferred way to learn and grow? This is very important understanding. But for those that are visual, those that like that space, why can't we create a half an hour or a space in one of our coaching sessions where we're not just asking our clients to tell us certain things, but where they can actually draw things out? So, for example, I did a post about an article on the space model. We talk about the space model in Coaching Minds. Instead of asking how they feel and going through the emotions, ask them to draw it. If they're a creative person that likes creativity, ask them to draw things out. Make things more visual. Think about how you can make your tools more visible and visual for your clients. So dedicating a bit of space to art and creativity and trying to tap into this as part of interaction can really bring fun into your coaching sessions. So remember, we're finding that balance between professionalism and injecting a little bit of interactiveness into our space. And finally, games and gamification. Now, if you're an experienced coach, we learn a lot about hypothetical questions, putting our clients in hypothetical scenarios. We can make games out of that. We can create fictional characters. We can ask certain things. We can turn our tools into mini games that keep our coaches engaged, whether we're doing it with them in the exercise in the session or ask them to do it before or after the session. We can bring in a little bit of gamification into there to help draw and keep that momentum. One of the things we've got at Coaching Minds, which not a lot of our coaches are using, some of them have, and it's really brilliant to see that, is the whole purpose of our AI coaching rooms is to how you can build in a little bit of gamification and build momentum with your clients between the sessions that they have with you. So you can create a series of videos, you can do a mini course, you can have daily streaks, you can have badges for doing certain tasks and assignments. There's different ways to keep them engaged. So if you want to help your clients hit their goals quicker, we need to think more about what we do and how we interact and engage with our clients between sessions, rather than just saying, here's my WhatsApp or here's my email, contact me whenever you want or you have any questions between our sessions. World's changing, people want results faster. Interaction, gamification, think about what we do between sessions can really help. So think about how you might inject a little bit of gamification into your coaching practice, because it's huge at the minute. People love it. You think of any games that you download on your phone, anything that you use in terms of apps, gamification is everywhere. You might not notice it, but it is. So anything that gives you a badge or some kind of reward or some kind of recognition or some kind of thing built in, that really works. And what we've done at Coaching Minds is also building gamification to motivate our coaches to complete our program as well. So one of the things that's quite unique is we have recognition boards and social points. These social points aren't based on vanity metrics. It's not, we're going to give you points and tokens because you've done something well. We're going to give you points and tokens because you're investing your time, you're logging in a hub. But when they become something important is when you actually gift them to somebody else in our hub, to another coach that you've seen be impactful, that you've seen be collaborative, that are built on the values that we've got here at Coaching Minds. You can think of something similar. You can take this into your own coaching practice. But how do we keep the momentum going? How do we keep them motivated? How do we keep it fun so they can achieve their goals? Roseanne saying, I asked once to draw their stress. A beautiful question there. You know, you're talking to me right now that you're feeling right stressed. Could you draw this on a piece of paper? But obviously, we need to understand if that person likes to draw. So, for example, I'm not a person that likes to draw. I like to be creative in ideas and thinking. But if somebody asks me to draw something, I'm really terrible at art. I go as far as a smiley face. One of our coaches did a little exercise with me yesterday in a coaching demonstration, and it was to draw a grid and then draw little pictures in there. And literally, the best I could get was smiley faces or different emojis. So again, it's understanding whether or not and this gets on to the next point, is the ethical application, is we need to offer it to our clients. We need to explain what we want them to do through the exercise, what the exercise is about, what we're going to be guiding them through, but it always needs to be offered. And if a client says no, if it's not for the client, if it doesn't feel aligned or resonate with the client, then you let it go. You move the conversation forward in a different way. Ethically applying tools, fun, interactive exercises, going out for walks, everything we've talked about today needs to be agreed upon by the client. It's not something we dictate as a coach. This is where a lot of those fake coaches out there on social media that call themselves coaches, they will have a framework. They'll tell you what you need to do. They'll make sure you do it, or they'll try and make sure you do it by a certain point, and they'll push you and force you through their framework in certain ways. This is not what we do as a coach. A professional coach will spot when what you're sharing is contextual to a specific tool, and they'll give you a little bit of an overview of what the tool's about, and they'll offer you to see if you think or believe that it might be useful for you right now. So always offer the creative exercises. And remember that the fun must be used to build rapport. It's not for us. It's not to make our coaching sessions more fun for ourselves as a coach. It's for the client. It's to help us build that rapport. It's to help them move forward a little bit quicker instead of sitting there having serious conversations with our clients all the time. A little bit of fun can build rapport. But also remember, if we're forcing the fun, or the fun's not aligned to the client's definition of fun, so we can have a conversation, we can ask some questions, what's fun for you? What would make our coaching sessions a little bit more interactive? What do you need? How can I support you a little bit better in this space? Asking these questions is going to build rapport, and trying to force something on that we like or we believe fun, because there's a risk that will break rapport as well. And that is enough for today. So I've gone over time again. I need to work and put this down, but there's been some good comments in there, lots of good things to talk about here. So I will look to maybe bring the content down the slides a little bit more minimal for future sessions, or I think 20 to 30 minutes is quite good. As long as we're giving, I want to give you value, and I want to give you quality as well. I don't just come here and talk about 1, 2, 3 things without giving you practical examples and something you can take away or at least reflect on for your coaching practice. But if you want to learn more, you want to get a little bit deeper, we have free resources. So in the top left, it's my top left, but it's probably going to be your top right. So the cyan blue QR code in the top corner, that will take you to our page of free coaching resources. There's a lot there right now. We're going to continue to build this as we grow and we start to put things out onto our website. Our website's brand new, so this is a brand new resources section. So we're going to start to put some of our resources that we've got in our hub available for everybody there. But there's enough there for you to get involved with right now. So you can scan that QR code. That will give you access to free coaching resources. And if you want something hard copy, we've got 5 books that talk about and explain coaching in a nutshell for everybody. They're quite in-depth, actually. So there's 5 different books. The one that we're talking about today, we'll talk about fun in coaching, is our Coaching Essentials book. So if you scan the QR code on the slide there, that will take you to Amazon. It's £12.97, so it's not going to break your bank to purchase this book. And it's going to give you more information. It's perfect if you're a new coach. If you're an experienced coach, it's probably not going to be the book for you. But if you're new and you want to learn about what coaching is all about before you invest thousands of pounds into a program, this is the book that you should read before you do that. And that's the purpose of the book. And I'd just like to say a huge thank you to everybody who's tuned in. I can see we've got a flux of people tuned in, sitting back in the background, taking notes. Thank you to Hannah, Adele, and Razan for your comments and your thoughts and your questions and interacting with me today. Really, really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you on Monday. So we've got another session on Monday, episode 12. And we're going to talk about the 5 different levels of listening. We're going to go a little bit deeper into these, understand where we need to get to as a coach so we can make a real difference with our clients. I hope you all have a wonderful weekend and look forward to seeing you all very soon. Thank you very much.